see the updated agenda with everything that went on today, including the full video. So we're glad you're here, either participating or just looking in, as our instructions told you how to do both. Um, we're having a little awkwardness today because Firefox has updated to an incredible version 100, and I just got updated to it as I logged in. I think there's a switch I can set, but I'm doing things a little different at the last minute. We shall see. Um, in any case, for those of you who don't already know our group, welcome. We hope you'll come back. And I'll point out that we have a discussion forum that's available online through the rest of the month. So you don't have to wait a month for our next meeting. In the meantime, and by the way, the next meeting will be June. It will be the first Thursday again. July, it will be the second Thursday, major holiday week. Uh, but that's an exception. So for those who are new, you can see us in between, uh, and this is the online agenda.
Who
It's been
started
over.
who started sharing their screen? I'm seeing a shared screen.
I think somebody just came on and
It's John Thompson.
did not uh, get offline for screen sharing.
Okay, I have a black screen. I'm trying to get the video that you had.
Ah, but don't share your screen in the meantime.
Okay.
Then we can. Um, I think you'll find another way to get my screen on. The big agenda is on the screen right now, John. So that's what you're looking for. And I'll keep going. And I'm hearing that clicking microphone sound again. Somebody's got one on. Thank you. Now, um, for those of you who don't know about FOSS, I will make it very quick. I will skip the introductory slide talk. You can click on it later and look. But I will say very quickly that FOSS is free open source software. That means free as in your wallet, and it means free as in unfettered. In short, it's the opposite of proprietary software. One way you understand, you go to the computer store to get the proprietary software, or you pay money for it online, and you still don't get to see the inside of the program, just what it lets you run. If you're a programmer, looking inside allows you to find problems and fix them, to find possible improvements and share them, and to find routines you love in one program and borrow them to use in another. As a result, the patches, the improvements come a lot more quickly. And basically, we have giants standing on the shoulders of giants because we all have all that input at our disposal. You don't have to be a programmer to benefit from it. You get to ride along for free by just keeping up with the latest version. Isn't that nice? And once a month, or in our discussion group, we have a way to compare notes on what's new and good, what's new and not so good, what we're almost getting but still waiting for, and what you didn't think you wanted but you might want to take a look at after all because someone else thinks it's so nice. That's what our group is about, and that's what FOSS is about, free open source software. Welcome, newcomers. If you log in next time at 2:30, you'll find some people online helping you with questions. Now we go on with the main meeting. I will start with some FOSS news.
Dick,
Yes.
can we do a little housekeeping? We've got a buzz that sounds like a ground loop on your audio and your surging volume as if an auto compensator is oscillating.
I think that means that somebody's microphone and speaker are on and they're echoing back as a
No,
result.
it's not that kind of feedback.
Oh,
It's a power buzz.
power.
I'll go in the next room and check.
Okay. We don't expect that at our location and haven't noticed anything to indicate it.
Well, I'm not seeing anyone else being blipped as talking when you're over. It's not talking over you, it's with you. And in the chat, we're agreeing that
Are you suggesting something I can do to change it?
you may need to either rejack your microphone or change microphones or just reconnect.
Okay, Joe, would you bring in my headset, please? I can do all of the above, step by step.
Headsets are good.
I'll have to stay in here then.
We-
I can't.
We tested this earlier today and
I'll
it
be able
sounded
to hear
good.
you if you have the headset on.
So you want one too, Joe? Right?
Yeah, I guess.
Problem gone.
Okay. I am on a microphone and a headset, so I've essentially canceled my speaker
Perfect.
and the in computer. Good.
Perfect.
Your volume is distinctly lower, but there's no buzz, and it seems to be reliable.
You'd like it a little higher, right?
Yeah, maybe somebody else should speak for comparison.
So 1, 2, 3, 4. Do I sound good?
You sound fine to me.
Good.
You're
Yeah.
you're a little lower than Algut, so if you could turn up your mic gain, great. But otherwise, if it's not convenient, don't worry about it.
1, 2.
It's fine with me too.
Alga tends to be a little louder than everybody else on his volume. That's okay with me.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. Am I good to go?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Pray continue.
All righty. Thank you for helping with that. Now we're on to the FOSS News. And we got a lot of things today, so I'll try to go fairly quick. First of all, yesterday, a few of us were troubleshooting ahead of time and decided that for working on Jitsi with a lot of people today, we wanted to shift to Firefox. Our past recommendation had Firefox as a problem, and we were recommending Chromium, which is Google Chrome without the Google part. We found that's good too, and it was working better with Jitsi. Then Firefox got better. It wasn't too important which you used, but yesterday we were having trouble with Firefox. So we put up this notice, Jitsi screen sharing prefers Firefox. I think it's not quite the case. We're not sure yet. Let's treat this as just a note that we're working on only yesterday and today. And I figure in a day or two, we'll know what's what and we'll post it. So, and I'm sure it'll be on the discussion group as well, NatickFOSS Discuss. So, on to the next. Ubuntu 22.04 LTS came out a couple of weeks ago, and I'd been waiting for it. I tried the beta, and I didn't like it for a couple of things that got fixed on the release. I still happen not to like Ubuntu that much, not for all the main pinnings, but just for the screen look. They offer a few choices of screen look, and there's a different one that I prefer, and it's one they used to specialize in, one called Unity. You can now add Unity to Ubuntu, but someone's already done that. And they came out with their final within hours of the official release. It had already been out for days. They didn't change it. They just officially released it. So everybody else, well, half of everybody else followed suit. Uh, there's a lot of people that run Ubuntu in a slightly modified version and release it for public use. Ubuntu Unity is my personal favorite. Ubuntu Cinnamon is one more example, and in a little while we'll look deeper into that. But the point is, they all came out on the same day, and I had a problem with my favorite Ubuntu Unity. The problem I had with it is I normally run on a laptop computer, and just booting it up automatically disabled half of the touchpad functions. The half it disabled, I could still move my cursor around and that could be seen, but um, if I went to tap to click something, it wouldn't listen. So, for instance, if I want to see this article, hello, here it comes. It's just moving a little slowly with everything going on, and we'll be there in a minute, or less than a minute, or a lot less than a minute. Come on, boys.
More than a minute.
By the way, I think you can see the top of my screen. Not sure if you can. There's four little windows on gray backgrounds. They're showing what's going on. And here it is. So this is the article that I was talking about there. I'd really like to go back. Good. This is in Firefox and I'm in Chromium. I think that's a good sign. Yes, we'll get this right yet. So this is announcing them and announcing some of what's new, making them different from each other. And that's interesting as news. But they had a real interesting article on Ubuntu Unity as a subset within this. And they pointed out it's been out for a couple of years now. And this is the second long-term support version of it that has come out. One that gets supported for 5 years instead of for 9 months. The ones that come out every half year get supported for 9 months, and then you go to the next one. So you don't have to get it the first day it's out, or you go to the long-term support version, your choice. They mentioned this one in particular because of its author. Its author, see if I can get to that one now. There you go. 12 years old, and that's now. That's not when he started it. He is amazing. He lives in India. His folks are smart too. And this report, by the way, is coming from Prague. And I've been talking with Rudra as late as yesterday. His English is fine. And says, if you don't already feel enough of an underachiever, read on. I'll leave you to get depressed tomorrow instead of today. But this is a good one. And Rudra, thank you so much for all the good you give. This isn't the only thing he does that's right, and you'll find out about more. But a child prodigy. Once upon a time, I thought I was one. Take my whole class, and you might get a hint of Rudra. So, Photox is my favorite go-to photo program. I automatically load it on. It comes from another nice guy, but he's been 12 years old some time ago. And that's Mike Cornelison. We'll be seeing something from him again later also. But it just hopped to 22.16, the 16th version of this year. So Photox adds features a lot. And no problem, you can run on the old one until you want to get the next feature. Or you can set to just automatically upload it every time you check for uploads. Very easy to do in any version of Linux, including Ubuntu and including subsets of it. Firefox just turned 100. Now, computers aren't 100. How could Firefox turn 100? Well, it's 100 versions. That's how. And uh, I just got it today, so I'm just learning what the new changes are. But this announcement will be helpful for that purpose. You can read it later. It's basically the same program you knew, and I'll be reading it later too. Um, On to a totally different topic. Apple is proprietary in a way most companies are not. Hardware and software galore, all from the one company. It makes a nice package if you don't want to know about anything else and have blinders on. And just to show you how bad the blinders are, they also put special screws on the outside of the case of their products: iPhone, Mac computers, the bit. And they put on special screws so you couldn't get to the inside of your computer. That's proprietary. They've gotten a lot of flack, and a few countries have passed laws saying you can't do that. You can't say you're not responsible for a computer anymore just because somebody opened it up to stop a rattle inside and make the easy fix. Um, and so a number of companies, with Apple as the most obvious one, have been trying to figure out what they can do to sort of have their cake and eat it. Apple's come out, and it just began, with a self repair program. If you've got an Apple product and you want to repair it yourself, which most of you don't want to do, I suppose, but nonetheless, if you did, you're now allowed to do it, except you have to do it with an Apple certified replacement part. They came off the same Chinese production line, almost for sure, but you're going to have to pay extra for the one from Apple. And if they don't have it in stock, you can't use the other one. Um, so that's one item. The second item, damned if you don't have to use Apple toolkits to do the repair. I don't think they're selling them, but they'll rent them to you for 1 month for $59 for what I understand is two heavy toolboxes. $59 for the right screwdriver? I wouldn't think so. So that's the deal they've got. Now, if you do your own home repairs, you can hear what I just said. But imagine what it sounded like to a company that does independently provide Apple repairs for you and anyone else. They're being told they're out of the game. They can't use the less expensive, perhaps newer and better parts. Depends on how good they are. Uh, but they have to use the parts Apple ships them, and they have to wait for them to arrive. Um, this sounds like you're going to hear a lot about it. An opening start is right in here for you to look at. Microsoft is the other famous purveyor of proprietary software on the big side, starting with the operating system, of course. And we do an end run around that. We use PCs or Macs, but we install different software on them to run them in Linux. Uh, Microsoft has been putting out a lot of publicity. Microsoft loves Linux. Started a few years back after they said out loud they hated it. Gave lots of reasons why they hated it, but for some reason, all the people that know enough are using Linux instead of Windows or Mac OS. So Microsoft started a new campaign and came out with a flavor of Linux that you run through your Windows operating system on your new Microsoft uh, PC computer. Uh, and Roy Shestowitz has been talking about open source software versus proprietary software and who's doing what to whom. for many, many years. And I think he's good to listen to. He doesn't hold his punches, but he's almost always right, and he will correct if he makes an error, gets better information, or finds a way around something where there was an obstacle. I recommend him highly. And this article by him is Microsoft. Actually, this isn't the title of the article. When you click, you'll get the article title. But this is an earlier title of his that I think covered it perfectly. Microsoft loves Linux. FUD. So they want to deceive you. They want to give you false information. And then they want to say, well, it's all nice if you can't afford a real operating system. It's better in many ways. That's how come it's running a helicopter on Mars. They didn't want to pick a weaker system, and they had $1 million to spend on software if it were worth it. They went with the free stuff and some good programming on it.
They didn't use the Windows Linux, did they?
No, not at all. They didn't think of using Microsoft. And Linux also is on a certain percentage of the 500 top supercomputers in the world. And that certain percentage is 100%. I think there's a lot of reasons not to worry about Linux being the weak kid on the block. But all the beginners worry about, gee, I'm not up to that scale. Can I use it? Yes, there's a lot of very comfortable beginner level Linuxes to move to. So yes, on all the above. If you've got 34 minutes, you can listen to Roy in great detail on what this issue is about. And it's FOSS versus proprietary in spades. Or you can just read the article a lot faster than that and later decide if you want to hear more detail. Very highly recommended. Those are, I moved that one down into history because it's going over old stuff, but also the new stuff. You can cover him on both. Up here, the new information from him, but down here, it might be the same video with a different article. I'm not quite sure. I think the video got reused. So that's it for news and history. The article will be the history of FOSS versus proprietary. So it's down there. And how Firefox reached 100 is a good story. You'll get to hear about it. So that's a good one. Linux, this is one that's been a discussion point on our own discussion group for days. And I've asked somebody to explain it quickly, put it in context. I thought it was so interesting to a number of people, and it is a sign of history, things moving on. Jerry, can you do this one?
You're going to have to go over and undo your screen
Oh,
sharing.
and I have to. I'm blocking you. Let me see. How, Joe? Just flip to another window?
No,
I'm not gonna, I don't have
Okay,
anything to
if you're
present, so I'm
Chromium.
just gonna be talking.
Okay, that sounds good to me. So keep going.
Dick, you're sharing your screen.
Oh,
First of all, go back
Yeah,
to, I'll go over to Firefox, Alt-Tab. Now,
yep.
find your Jitsi.
In here?
Oh, no, you're not in. I'm
I
sorry.
think I'm okay, Joe.
No, you are.
you're still sharing your screen.
Jerry, would you start talking, please? And I'll just stay where I was.
Wait a minute.
Okay. When floppy disks have been around for a long time. We first had 8.
It is a problem, Joe? What should I do?
I was telling
Okay.
you.
Let me go ahead and start. I
Go
got muted
find-
for some
Oh,
reason.
go find your Chromium page.
Okay.
I'm on it.
Okay, then hit the D.
You're still talking and it's still coming out.
The D has never been working here, Joe. Remember?
Mm-hmm.
I think it's working.
I think we're working now.
Yes.
Okay. Basically, floppy disks have been around since the 1970s. First came out as 8-inch, then 5-inch, then 3.5-inch. Linux used to have a raw interface to the floppy disks because the floppy disks used to have a lot of different formats and encoding methods. And some had hardware sectors and most were software sectors. And I think and Linux for a long time had a raw interface to the floppy disk. And that just stayed in there. And it's virtually unused anymore. Again, you need a raw, the driver needs a raw interface to the floppy disk, but essentially the end user has no need for a raw access to it. It's only a floppy disk driver. And again, very few people actually use floppies today anyway. They're pretty much obsolete. They really don't hold enough storage. USB keys have been much more flexible than floppy disks. So, very few computers actually have floppy disk slots. But maybe Ed left us. But what's its? Oh, Bill's not seeing his camera. Anyway, the raw interface to floppy disk is really not necessary anymore. It was just another path. There was actually used to be a raw driver, and there's no real need for it. Very few people really have floppy disks. I threw my hundreds away years ago. But, some people do, and you can still go out and buy a USB floppy disk drive, usually 3.5-inch. I don't think you can go out and buy a 5.25 or 8-inch anymore. So it's really an obsolete technology that's just hanging around. And it's a oddity in that technology that really is not needed and hasn't really been needed even when we had floppy disks, because the 3.5 were all a standard format. And that's really all I have to say.
So, Jerry, what you're saying is that if I had a USB floppy drive, I could just plug it in and read it?
Absolutely, yes. It's not the floppy disk. It's not. They're not removing floppy disk access. They're removing the raw interface that's been around for a long time. You will be able, if you buy a floppy disk reader, whether it's 3.5, which you can still buy, or whether it's 5-inch or 8-inch, it'll still read and write the floppy disks. Probably won't write it anymore, because I think you need the raw access to write some of those older formatted floppy disks. But since they came out with a 3.5-inch, they standardized in the encoding and the formatting. Not really a necessity to have the raw interface anymore. Again, it's only the raw interface.
Okay. If I took a drive out of a old TRS-80 and figured out how to plug it into my computer, I could read 5-inch floppies.
I doubt it.
Probably all the bits have fallen off.
Yeah, it's well, it's not that. I think that the drive that you had in the Trash 80 wouldn't work on a modern computer today. You'd have to be USB. I mean, you could do your own. You know, if you had the right bus, I think maybe Ed Pashevitz with his ancient computers could probably read it, but I don't know.
Yeah, would have to build a controller and bus adapter and then write the driver for it.
Yeah. Yeah. Speaking of drivers, back when I was in graduate school, we had a PDP-8, and the only way to boot the PDP-8 was through punched paper tape. This is before there was floppies. And you actually had to key the paper tape driver into the computer in binary.
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah, but it was only a paper tape reader. So that particular form, the driver that you actually typed in, only would read in the floppy disk, I mean the punch paper tape driver. So it was a driver for the driver.
Yeah, it's called a bootloader in the jargon.
Yeah. Well, it wasn't a bootloader. It was essentially a driver for the floppy disk. I mean, it was a driver for the punch paper tape reader, and then you could load in the bootloader. But essentially, you didn't have a ROM in there for your bootloader.
Layers of startup code.
Yeah.
With the smallest bootstrap being short enough that you could toggle it in on your offset front panel switches. Yep. The only difference is I was in high school using a college's spare machine when you were in grad school.
Yep. That's pretty much all I have. It's a pretty minor issue that
Good.
I think people were saying, oh, they can't remove floppy disk access. And that's not really the case.
Can folks hear me?
Yes, we can all hear you.
Okay. Can you, still trying to wrestle back from that screen sharing do puzzle. Entire screen share. And here we go again.
Alt tab.
I'm listening.
You need to go to Thunderbird.
In Firefox or Thunderbird?
Thunderbird.
Okay. Interesting. And now I'm back. Okay. Thank you. So let's see. My comment on the floppy disks is somebody will find an old one from family they want to transcribe somehow. Do it while you can, or go visit someone who's got a computer that can, or get one of those USB plug-in external floppy drives that can. You may not find the big ones new, but I'll bet you'll find them used online. Just a thought for a few people. FOSS at SOS. This past Saturday, a bunch of us got together at uh, outside in a parking lot at Framingham State University, where they gave us an extra big table to sit at and show off our FOSS. We had a good time. We had good volunteers. We had good weather. We had fairly good traffic, but that event has been shut off for 2 years due to pandemic. And I think the attendance will build next year again. It was good. And they were very friendly and helpful for us. What wasn't good is that it was outdoors in good weather. The lighting was so bright that I think an umbrella tent wouldn't even have helped. We ended up cutting up cardboard boxes and make little houses in which each laptop was hiding, and you had to sit in front of them and look in deep into the box, and you could barely make out the screens at highest brightness settings. This is a problem. If people have good ideas for next year, we have a year to talk about it. Uh, Other good things we can talk about later also, but I think it's well worth doing. I hope some of the people who signed on are watching live. And if you're watching passively, that's fine too. And you may be doing that in the next day or two. All those folks are getting notified along with our regular crowd. So we'll talk about that later. I'll mention one more thing about it. Uh, this is aimed to be interesting to parents, but aimed at kids, high school and younger. And the science technology department, or college really, within the university is, I think, fishing for future uh, students, but also just popularizing the things they do. So students who haven't chosen a field yet get some good inputs. The most popular thing I was showing was a program we'll come to in a while called Chaos with an X, AOS. And Chaos does very nice painting. You just tell the computer what to paint. You guide it and it does the work. And it does it with fractal imaging. It was incredibly popular with kids as well as grown-ups, and anyone who dared touch this alien computer found they could do it with no trouble at all. I think it was a great icebreaker. So I recommend things like that for the next time. Things that are interesting for all ages and easy to get the hang of and benefit from early on. Uh, So that's it for FOSS history. It'll be back next year. Hot software. New features and packages in Ubuntu Unity 2204 LTS. I do my part featuring this one version of Linux because I found it's a very good one as it delivers power, but in a very friendly, nice looking manner. And we like it. Um, so other people run other versions who are in this group. The group is not exclusive for it, but it just released a new version. So here's where you go if you're interested in Ubuntu Unity to see what its new tricks are. You'll find ones like that for Ubuntu back in the original note. That'll lead you to some of that. And it had a problem, which I quickly described and said I'd talk about later. Boom, your touchpad cursor is still working, but just about every other thing you can do on a touchpad is gone. When you load the version that came out officially on April 21st. So I immediately called the chief developer of it, the 12-year-old in India, and I told Rudra I had this problem. And he said, "Oh my gosh, I see what to do, and I'll fix it in the next release, so it's not an issue. Meantime, here's the secret. If you are running it and your touchpad tap to click disappeared on you and you went to fix it, whoops, somebody is echoing me. They've got their mic on. And and in any case, when you, I think it's fixed. Good, thanks. If there's no, almost fixed. If there's no touchpad tap to click suddenly, and you go to where you can go into system settings, mouse and touchpad, and suddenly the touchpad control settings are all gone too. Here's your solution right here. You open up a terminal window, which is easy to do with the setups we use. You hit Alt Control T for terminal, and poof, you've got a terminal window. And in it, the $ is the prompt you'll get, unless you changed it. And you type in sudo alt update, semicolon space, sudo alt upgrade. I'm sorry, apps. Sudo apt update, and the semicolon says, and keep looking, because that's a complete command. And next one is sudo apps upgrade. You just type that in, hit enter, and it's all fixed, but not for the instance you're running. You'll have to reboot to take advantage of it because it clicks in at the beginning. Now you'll have all of that stuff returned the way you thought it should be. And again, in a few weeks, it won't even be an issue. It was a goof, unusual one. I can't remember one like it in that particular flavor of Linux. So that's an easy fix for it. If it's not easy for you, ask a friend, someone in this group, me, to give you a hand. It'll be quite easy to do it. Speaking of all the different flavors of Ubuntu, I'd like to speak about a really interesting site, and go look there for a minute. FOSS Torrents. You know what FOSS is? Torrent, of course, is a waterfall, and a FOSS torrent is a server or something like a server that's running a torrent of your data that you want to download. It's a different way to download things. Here we are at FOSS Torrents. And if, for instance, I were to say distributions, I think I have to go down and find it. There it is, more distributions. Distributions are the operating systems, as opposed to games or other applications in the operating system. They're all programs. And we can look at popular, most downloaded, but these are the ones they're thinking of, popular categories, and they're alpha order. Let's go to Ubuntu for 1. What do we get? Well, we get a few. You could do a search, but here's one, here's one, here's one, here's one. These are all versions of Linux, which are versions of the Ubuntu branch of Linux, and there's a lot of them. Linux Lite is popular with some members of our group.
Linux Mint.
Linux Mint, sorry, I'm doing 3 things at once. Runtu instead of Ubuntu, RU, Russian. There's a Chinese one we probably just went past. And Ubuntu is in the list too. It's, after all, a version of Ubuntu, isn't it? And they keep coming. And way down at the end of the alphabetical list, we ought to come to Ubuntu Unity. So it's just one of many, many, many versions of Ubuntu, for gosh sakes. And if you want to know about Linux instead of Ubuntu Linux, well, now you've barely begun. most downloaded. They got some interesting ones here, including the one I like so much. Very popular. I'll mention this one. I kind of like it, but it's not as uniform. But it's good for beginners in one way. And the one way is it allows you to change Windows to one that looks as much like Windows operating system as you can imagine. And it's got one for Mac OS also. You're in Linux, it just looks like you're not. Um, Kind of interesting. This is the one I prefer. It's one Ubuntu invented itself and ran for, I think, maybe 4 or 5 years. And then Ubuntu dropped it, and it's open source. So all the people who liked it just kept it alive. And here it is. And you can get it as something to add to Ubuntu, or you can pick it up and running already in an Ubuntu version. The simpler way to go by far. Uh, so these are just a few hints and not everything. And here's a lot of notes about what's new in different versions and a lot of ways you can continue on just that one site. So if you're the kind of person like me that's interested in the family tree of Linux and of what's good for what purpose in Linux, or what you just like to try for the heck of it, here's a great tool to know about. Back whence I came, I'm hopeful. Maybe that's what I should do. Uh, and back to thither. So that's FOSS torrents. Bill Ricker is aboard, and he's got some other tricks to show you, like you can change what the Linux looks like in the graphic user interface. You can also change um, how the clipboard works. In my case, a Control C is what I usually use for clipboard. I can go do it other ways. And it puts in memory whatever I just clicked on, a window, a screen, a sentence or a word that I selected first and then clipboarded. It'll hold that in memory and do it. But in the process of doing that, it lost whatever was in my clipboard. It holds one content at a time. Clipboard managers give you probably as many clipboards as you want at a time. Bill, are you ready to talk?
Yes, you need to
I will stop
Yes.
sharing.
Okay.
You want to go over to wait a minute.
Well, to that, right?
And I am sharing. So yes, the purpose of a clipboard manager is so that you have more than one slot of saved content when you're trying to move text or other stuff between applications. Sometimes you need to move a name, 3 lines of address, or a name and an email address, or an account name and a password, or various other combinations of data that go together, like the title of a web page and its URL may be separate unless it happened to be formatted as an HTML link. And in all of these cases, or just wanting to know the thing you found an hour ago and use it again. All of those are ways where a clipboard manager is useful. Years ago, or the earliest GNOME systems had a system called Glipper. In KDE, you take a normal word and replace the first letter with K. With GNOME, you take a normal word and change the first letter to G. Well, Clipper was a fairly standard Microsoft Windows clipboard manager, so the Linux version for GNOME folks was Glipper. Glipper's last release was in 2012, so we need to use something else. That's just a little too old. It's gotten dropped from the Ubuntu repos 7 years ago. It was last supported for Xenial. So on one of the social media streams that I follow for Linux and FLOSS-like things, somebody posted a 3-year-old article on the best clipboard managers for Ubuntu, and it recommended, well, 6 of them. It does what it says on the tin. One of which is not offered in the Ubuntu Software Center, which means you'd have to download it from some somewhat less trustworthy place. So I wouldn't recommend that one. I decided to try gpaste, but the others, the one that goes in your notification indicator panel, it can be fairly convenient. Many of them use a notification indicator. Gpaste does not. That's one of its downsides, but I'm liking it anyway. This is the article that I was referring to. You get an indicator in your notifications that you just click on it and can then pick things from your copy paste history to refresh them back into your clipboard. Almost all of these work with synchronizing between your basic X windows and your GNOME application clipboards. And if you're in the KDE world, they'd do likewise. What I like about this review article is it has pluses and minuses or pros and cons for each one. Their first choice doesn't do images or formatted text. Well, frequently I want to rinse the formatting off text when it goes through my clipboard. So if the text formatting is there on an initial paste immediately after copy, but is lost if I pull it back up in the history, hey, that's saved me trouble. I don't have to do Control-Shift-V in order to paste it without formatting, or paste it into an application that doesn't accept formatting to rinse it clean. It'll be done for me. That's good. Being able to password protect your history might be useful if you're going to put sensitive stuff there and it's a device that's available to other people in the office environment, or you plan on losing it. The one I'm using, gpaste, looks about the same, except it's a window as opposed to a fold down widget. So I just click on the window and mark it always on visible workspace. So it follows me when I switch between my personal workspace, my work workspace, and my other stuff saved for later workspace, which is where all the browser tabs go to die. This will follow me from super window to super window. And it says it's got a search menu. Yes, you can search your clip history. This is nice. You can edit your clip history. It says it does have text formatting support, which is actually not so helpful for me. But I know how to work around it. So CopyQ is another one on their list, which was also on a different list that I have. And Diodon is a fairly recent one that comes up a lot. Pushy is the one that isn't in Ubuntu. Apparently, it does Chrome browser sync. So if you want to have your clipboard sync with your Android, I guess this one would be good. I'm not sure I want that. I just keep I just have a note in Google Keep for things that I want to sync between desktop and Android or between two Androids for copy paste. You've probably run across, because Dick's probably spoken about it before, there is a site called Alternative To where you can type in a Mac or Windows commercial program or a floss or shareware program. And that community there has identified applications that perform similar functions by category. So you get a list of things. So this is putting in the obsolete Glipper name, and it will tell you what the top one on Windows and Mac is, as well as several other open source or shareware ones. And CopyQ comes high on their list as well. So if I decided I was not happy with GPaste, I would probably check out either the Indicator or CopyQ next. But Dick was taken by QLipper, which is lightweight, cross-platform, and is obviously in the family of Glipper and Old Clipper in terms of naming. And hey, if it's in the repos, it's worth a try too. So aside from Pushy, these are all in your Ubuntu Software Center. So easy to install, and Jerry can probably get them from his Fedora RPM whatever yum yum. And I've also linked the GPaste blog and GitHub repo here, and Dick has this text in these links that he can redistribute as he likes. I have found in just the week that I've been using GPaste, I used to have I think I used to have Clipboard Indicator, but when I switched from GNOME to Unity, supposedly only for a week because I was going to find that I really hated it, and then I'd switch. And instead I found the 40 tweaks you want to do to Unity immediately post, and I applied 20 of them, and it was usable. One could say if I had to apply 20 tweaks, why bother? But, as a responsible citizen, I felt I ought to at least try it so I could speak knowledgeably about why it sucked. And I found it with 20 tweaks, it didn't suck. But I did lose my Clipboard Indicator. Well, now that I'm back in a gnomish sort of shell, I could use it again, but I'm trying GPaste at the moment. I may go back to Indicator. I may try CopyQ, or even Clipper with a Q, which I think is where Dick said he was going to go. But there are, 4 others in Alternatives To or just in Software Center that I found searching for Clipboard that are also possible. So it's open source. There's more than one way to do it. You can pick a different one. You can use a different one every day of the week. But I've found this very useful. I copied something intending to paste it into an online discussion, but hit send without pasting it. And many hours later, somebody asked, "Did you mean to put a link there?" And I just went into my GPaste, hit Control F, BLU, and it found the link to my speaker page on the blue.org site that I meant to share with somebody who might want to see some of the stuff that I have done in previous years. And it was right there. For building this list, I could copy the title and the link or the information from Software Center and collect up a bunch of them and then paste a bunch of them, so that I'm not doing Alt-Tab, copy, Alt-Tab, paste, Alt-Tab, copy, Alt-Tab, paste, cycling through for each thing. I can go to the application, copy, 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 go to the other application, click here, paste, click here, paste, click here, paste, click here, paste, and much less context switching at both the user interface and operating system, and also mental level, where the mental level is the really expensive one. This is, by the way, particularly helpful that speaks to somebody you're in. So with genealogical research, you'll frequently find a whole bunch of facts about an individual in a source document online, or in somebody else's web tree or whatever, and you want to copy each of those little facts into your tree, and for that, this makes that workflow a whole lot less painful, a whole lot less alt tabs. And I think it was even a genealogy chat board where somebody linked this 3-year-old clipboard managers for Ubuntu. It might have been the Gramps application discussion group. I'm not. But it may have just been a general discussion where somebody said, "Yeah, these are available for Mac, Windows, and even Linux," and posted this. There are people who aren't Linux bigots who say Linux in public, and this is wonderful. So that's what I've got for you today.
I have a couple questions, Bill.
Sure.
How do they work? Is it a 5-low? So the last thing you put in is the first thing that comes out, lo-fi?
Yeah.
And,
It's
and what
LIFO.
kind of limitations are there?
They tend to be last in, first out, like the plate stack at the buffet, or a fourth stack, and the so that it doesn't change the functionality of copy paste if you do a single copy and a single paste, or a single copy and a paste, paste, paste. You still get 3 copies of whatever. It's pasting isn't destructive of the thing on the top of the stack, but if you pull it down, you can pick anything else in the history. There's probably a maximum number of things it will hold, which may be configurable or may be variable depending on how many megabytes of RAM it wants to grab. And some of them will save your history to disk when you log out, if not sooner, which becomes a security issue, which is why password protected and ability to delete things from your history may be important for some uses. But by default, it shows you the last 20 whatever that will fit on the screen. Let's see, where's that picture? The one in bold is the last one either copied in another application or the last one you clicked on here, and it's at the top in slot 0 and will be loaded into both the X Windows and the Gnomish copy buffer, so it's available to paste with either the mouse or the keyboard in your Xterm as well as in any of your applications. And if you want instead number 6, you just either mouse or probably I could hit 6. I haven't tried it, but since it's got the number there, I'm guessing 6 is a hotkey to get number 6 promoted to number 0, and then what's in 0 pushes down to 1, which would be a roll 6 and 4th, right?
Yep.
I'm guessing the 27 history on the left says that this thing has 27 things, even though it's only showing 20. And I was very pleased to discover that when I wanted it, that yes, there was a magnifying glass, and I just click on that, and you get the standard GNOME file browser search window ribbon at the top, and I typed in BLU, and calendarblue.org/speakers/Bill1 showed up. Just what I wanted.
Looks interesting. I think I'll try it.
Yeah, the downside of this one is it's a standard window, so you've got to go to it and bring it up to the top of your stack of windows if you've got a lot of windows. Of course, I've got my status bar of applications on the left instead of on the bottom, and I can just go click on this thing's icon there, and that brings it up. But if you don't have an easy way to get to this application other than alt-tabbing around or hitting the super key, having it on the indicator like this one, which, you know, you can't get rid of the notification panel, so you might as well get some use out of it. And you just click there, and it folds down without taking up a window. You click on the one you want, it folds away, you use it. Since I'm anticipating workflows where I want to take several things off it, I don't want it to fold away as soon as I click on one. I want to be able to get right back to it to click another, and then right click paste in another window, click on another, right click paste in another window. And so I've configured gpaste to not auto hide after I click on something to copy it. If you were in a tiling or non-windowing window manager where you can only see one application at a time, you would very much want the auto hide so that whatever you were using before pops back to the top as soon as you pick what you're copying.
Yeah, I often size my windows so that they're not overlapping each other at all.
Yeah,
So I could just go back and forth with them.
Exactly. And for that, the customization to have this not auto hide after you select something would be useful. You're effectively imitating a tiling window manager in your standard window manager, and that's a freedom we have.
Yeah, and Bill, you mentioned Fedora. I took a quick look. There's a whole bunch in the GNOME shell extensions, and there's some also in the software manager.
And there's probably some for KDE-ish people as well.
I'm 100% sure. As well as there's an extension to tile the windows.
Yep. You know, one of these specifically says, Clipman is built with the XFace libraries, using GTK plus clipboard, but it doesn't require XFace Manager. It works with any system tray notification area.
Yeah. Yeah, Clipman is in the GNOME extensions.
Yeah. but that means it would not play. It might not play nicely with the KDE application that you were trying to run under GNOME.
Yep.
But that's just life. Any other questions before I hand back to our Master of Ceremonies?
I think this is your master speaking. If I can get back to screen sharing. Joe, what did you have for that?
It's not here.
What? Tap?
It's not
What
on
would
this
you like?
page. You want to go to your Chrome.
I'm in it, I think.
That's your Chrome.
This is my Chrome.
Yeah. Now you
So,
click on the screen sharing.
I thought I had a way to do it up top. Oh, that gets the way up top. Okay, I'm getting there. I think I need a key that does this automatically, which, folks, is also easily available in Linux. You can make up your own custom shortcut keys.
There are multiple keys defined for starting and ending different sharings.
Yeah, but
Finding
Good.
the window you want is
Well, I'm back in the agenda, of course, but I'll quickly show you that at the press of a button or tap of a touchpad. Oh, no, I won't. Not today. There we go.
that didn't
You
show
can
you.
change your window from being a work area to being 4 work areas. Picture 4 tables you're working on, and you've got different projects, and some of them belong separated from each other. So what you do is you start them in any window you like. You click on one, I'll click on the lower right. Now that's my work area. Or I click on the one I was in and I'm back. You can also drag anything you want from one work area to another as a copy or a move. Uh, so just think of those 4 tables. If you wanted 2 tables instead of 4 or 16 or 12, you can get there from here. Very nice system built in, at least in Ubuntu. I think in most Linuxes you'll find the equivalent of that. Um, a lot of different tools for doing it, and I want that multiple clipboarding. Thank you so much. I'm going to try it. Um, let's see. Mike Cornelison is the fellow who is the author of Photox, and I'm going to go into Photox and show something he sent recently. For those who don't know, APOD is the astronomy picture of the day, a feature that NASA offers the world, and they're pretty good. Uh, so some of them are spectacular. So Mike was doing just a little Photox demo of a couple of tools, and he sent along the tool for doing this. I'll bring up my Photox. Here it is. And in the process of bringing it up, it uploads any new files that are put in the image file folders that I've set it to look for. There's one, for instance, just went in. I took a different one and whittled it to that size. This is what a glitch looks like if you're a bicyclist. We know a lot about them from software. It's a different translation. We're running in a different language, folks. Uh, I want to go near there, actually, just a minute. I am looking for Mike's goodies. Well, I'm not sure where they are. I'll show you how to find them. But I want to tell you, first of all, that since I'm not using my webcam, that's me. And I want you to notice the shirt because I'll be talking about some Russian data leaks, and I think we're talking about who done it. That's the famous Ukrainian guard on Snake Island when they brought Russia's biggest warship that could fit into the Black Sea. They said, "Surrender or we'll kill you." A friendly way to say hello. And this is how come the middle finger is now a famous slogan in Ukraine. And how come the Ukrainian version of "fuck you" is on this stamp, which just released a week or two ago. Already released as a T-shirt too, apparently. So that's one I wanted to mention for later. And here's the other. If you're two interpretations of this. One is if you aren't using Linux, you'll be sorry. The other one is, it's okay, officer, I can explain this. And there you go. Were there any more in that set? No.
I didn't take you for a narc.
I'll be talking about toolkits in a while. This is a typical precision toolkit for working on small things. That's what I was working on, and I'm looking for something different. I'm going to go in Photox to metadata, search the metadata, and I'll just search for the hell of it for text saying Mike's name. I think that's on them. We'll find out now. Let's see, nothing else is set to happen, so I'll say proceed. There's tons of other things I can set from standard words, and I can add new ones to that index. Proceed. Really? That seems surprising. There we go. And these are ones from him. And here's the very one I'm looking for. This is an astronomy picture of the day from, maybe a few weeks ago. And it's pretty nice. It shows a vortex aurora, not your average aurora. And it lights up when it hits the atmosphere up way top. And it's coming down pretty close to the ground. But this isn't what I want to show you. This is the original. And the original, which is the one they published at NASA, they're looking with a very wide angle of view to catch this. And when you do, you get spherical distortion wherever you focus, it's best. And the further away you move, the worse it gets. So this flat road has bad spherical distortion, bending away from a point probably somewhere up here. Mike thought he could fix that. And he also thought he could enhance the photo itself. And why don't I give you a full screen? And Photox has lots of nice tools too. So that's the original. That's the photographer in the lower right. And it's on a heap big telescope. This is what Mike made out of it in a minute with Photox. He increased the contrast and changed the brightness to compensate. So it came out about the same, but with much higher contrast. The stars are showing. And then he went over to fix a warp and unwarp it.
Dick, I'm not hearing you anymore.
You're not?
No.
Uh-oh.
We hear him.
Okay, Joe, it's your
Good
problem.
here.
Good, thanks.
If
So
she's in the same room, she doesn't.
she can watch my lips. So in any case, so it's all fixed very quickly and easily with Photox. And I want to show this for a few reasons. I'll go back to the view with the editor board. This is the Photox menu for its toolkit. And one of the words in here is warp. I'll just look at it fast. Actually, I should go back one, shouldn't I? And then look at it fast. And it has a lot of choices. The easy, obvious one for me is unbend. And Here's a spherical unbend. Let's do an experiment and see what happens. Um, I will, with my cursor in there, just lean on a down arrow, -1, -2. I'll hold the down arrow and let go. It's going the wrong way. Now I'll hold it a lot the other way. Getting
It
close.
takes a while for it to refresh on our screens. It hasn't refreshed yet.
And as you can see, it doesn't take long to get very close to what you want and you can find trim. I just wanted to show that for people using Photox, so it would be a little more
Still
value
says
to them
-5 over here.
in what?
Still says -5 on my screen.
Oh, interesting. I'm at 228, positive, not negative. And I'm seeing it good. Why aren't you? You should be sharing.
Jill's
We're
got,
on,
you
we're
are.
also seeing it.
Jill,
Well-
Jill's just got the slow Wi-Fi.
Click.
Ah, okay. Good. So that's all I wanted to do with that one. I will cancel the tool. I will cancel Photox. And we're back. Thank you, Mike, for providing the example, challenging me to do it and finding out it is easy. Here's LibreOffice as a desktop publishing application. I was curious. I used the old, let's see, it used to be called Open Office Composer. Then it was called Netscape Composer. Then it was called Seascape Composer. Old news and good.
See monkey?
SeaMonkey. I'm sorry, SeaMonkey Composer. Thank you, Jill. And so I like it, but it's a little clunky. And I thought I'd see what was there. And I thought I'd look by looking for web publishing. And I ended up finding a lot of things that weren't about publishing for the web. They were about publishing a book, but using the web to do it. Um, so both ways, I ended up finding that this one I thought would be of interest to a lot of people, including me, when and if I have time to go look for that again and see what it's about. This one is only talking about LibreOffice, which most everyone gets with their Linux these days. It's the Microsoft Office for free, little different, little more standardized for everything else in Linux. And there it is. This hit that I got when I searched was just doing a search using DuckDuckGo, which I much prefer for searchers. I just did it live online. And here's a whole bunch of, that's exactly what I was looking for as a topic, and et cetera, et cetera. I got a lot of hits on this one, many more where they came from. And you can go on for a few days in there if you want. But what I did is I picked some that I thought would be of general interest, and they're whole books. And they're books about creating books. And they're hiding right next to where I was. So where was I? Right here. If you look close, 3 free books isn't underlined on the same underline as this is. It's 3 other links, and they're right there for your choosing. Boink. That's one. Oh, I'm still in.
There it is.
What?
Is this what you wanted to look at?
Oh, I want to go back to the main one. Here I am. And no, I don't. I want to go to 222. It's around the corner. Maybe that. Trying to get back to mine. So I want this one.
Thunderbird.
Yep, thanks. Too many tools, not enough time. So you've got 3 free books. That was one example. And yes, we can get the ones I was looking for too in the same place. And that's the end of hot software. For hot hardware, we have some interesting things, and I'm going to start with the hottest one at all because it's hardware. When you want to fix hardware, you need some hardware to fix it, and that's a precision screwdriver set. I just showed you one. You can pay $10 or $15 and come home with a set like that from the local store. But I thought I wanted something a little more, especially when I ran into a screw I didn't have a screwdriver for. And what I ended up choosing from many online, I didn't find anything as good locally, including the ones for $60 for a kit. I chose this one. Notice the price. This price indicates it went up $1 since I bought it a week ago. So it may go down again, it may not. You can read the details in the fine print here as to what it has for screws. But let's instead open one up, chill. Oh, maybe we don't want to do that. I don't know. Yeah, let's try it.
Well, you're gonna have to.
Tell you what.
Be
I'm gonna,
careful.
yeah,
You,
I'm not gonna.
you, you
We've
don't
got
want
that.
to pick the little bits out of the back of the sofa.
That's true. I think I won't do experiments right now with it. I'll just stay here. It's got some pictures we can look at. Um, you can buy this online from the US. You'll have it within a week typically, and sometimes within 3 days. And uh, this one, I ended up buying from Amazon. Normally, I would buy from eBay or some independent person that's got something I like. Uh, but Amazon had what I couldn't find elsewhere until I got up to around the $20 range. So I took this one. Without just a few of its tools, you think you're looking at the same thing. You could get it for $8 or $9, and you could get a lot of other kits that have a lot of tools in them. But this isn't kidding. And in terms of the tools in it, uh, for instance, up on the top, no, not the top, I'm looking for a T4, which is somewhere in here. Maybe it's
I
under,
saw them.
they're in there, honest. Uh, and it comes with two of each of many of the most popular sizes.
So if you
Now,
lose one,
when you're working with tiny tools, you can lose them. When you're working with tiny screws, you can lose them. When they're a perfect fit, you're still 100 times more powerful than they are. You can strip them. And by them, you don't know till you try whether it's the tool or the screw and which one you'll be happier stripping. Surprisingly, for beginners, the secret solution to that problem is to push in hard. It's when it starts coming out that it has extra power for stripping. So as soon as you keep it squarely in its hole, you can get it out. These have a trick for that. First of all, it comes with a lot of stuff. The stuff you're looking at, some of it doesn't fit in the box. It comes with some other things as well. And one of them is this magic card, which is magnetic. This gives you a way you can take lines for each of the kinds of screws you're working with, lay them down in line, in sequence. You can put them all back in the same sequence later. It's golden. Well worth another $2 from the one that was almost
Very,
the same kit without it. Yep.
very nice. I have a couple different sizes of magnetic parts bowls, but this gridded magnetic card is ingenious for the tiny screws.
Yes, I thought it was swell. The one I borrowed uh, had a black surface on it. Worked fine, was very helpful. You could make up the same rules, but putting the boxing on it was just genius. Costs nothing while it's in there and comes out better. Uh, the catch is you'll have to snip a little off it if you want to fit it in the box. but just a little. So it's a separate item they threw in, as they did with this non-static dust remover cloth, which is very handy when you're in places like that. And I'll also mention this item. It does come in, whoops, did come in the box, but this little short handle does something very nice. We'll go on a little further and look for the picture. And let's see. This is one side of this two-sided box. For more money, you can buy a two-sided box where the hinges are both on the same edge, so both sides are open at once. I think that would be better, but not real important, as I found out once I tried it. Once you know what tools you want, you're at home. You take out a few. I'd take out the handle. I'd take out the tweezers. I might take one or two of these gadgets for pushing and pulling and tweezing, and certainly a couple of the ones you can slide in when you have a little gap in the cover you're trying to get loose, and you want to kind of slide around and open other parts of it by just sliding.
Guitar picks.
Very, very common.
Yeah, their technical term is apparently spudger.
Yes, isn't that a wonderful word? Spudger.
Well, there are also spudgers that are sort of a stick with a flat end on it.
Like some of those others I just showed you, the red ones. Anyway, here's the other side of it. You open one side at a time, and here's the box. If you look close at the box, it looks like it must have a cover that rises in the center. That's inside bracing molded into the cover. It's a flat cover, so it packs pretty efficiently. And oh, I don't see the picture I wanted. I have it somewhere in here. Um, and there's videos on this and such. Um, I guess if you click there, you'll see more things after you get there. Uh, but basically, you can take this little gadget in here, which is designed to plug into the screwdriver handle and no, to grab the screwdriver bit that you choose. And now you can grab it with your electric drill. Particularly nice for the battery driven ones that'll stall when they get too tight and all that. So that's nice. This item here, right under the handle, is a flexible shaft that could go into the screwdriver. And now you can plug your screw bits into it. But the electric drill trick has a second trick. Second trick is there's a hex hole in the handle ready to accept it. Now you can push down hard and turn very slowly and carefully with that arm attached, so you won't strip on a very tight locked screw as you're trying to get it out. So that's mostly what's in the toolkit. It's kind of hard to get the screws out of their holes. Each hole is marked nicely, and that's where the tweezers come in handy too. And here's all those marks telling you what's what inside it. And it's got star, it's got so many other torques, lots and lots of combinations, including the ones that weren't available until you can now get them for your Apple equipment, your iPhone and whatnot. And it all only costs you, I think it's $59 a month to rent it out. So I think this is a pretty nice kit. I think I'm recommending it. I would have liked one that opened both sides flat on the table. Didn't find one anywhere near this price. If you do, let me know. With as many tools, including the tools I wanted that were hard to get. So take a look at it if you like, go shopping if you like, or hold your breath if you like. No rush. But if you're going inside and wish you had all your pieces in one place, this is my new solution and I like it. Back to home base. What comes next? Um, ho ho. If you're thinking of buying a laptop, new or used, and you'd like to compare some specs fast, this one's a godsend. It's been there waiting for you, and you can ask for what you want. They have articles, they have reviews, they also have lists and comparisons. If you're into that kind of question, you will love it. I'm showing you the good parts, and you'll be seeing them too. A wonderful place to click. And of course, you might be interested by brand name. These are the ones we've been specializing in lately. And I will tell you, I'm currently very unhappy about the Lenovo computer that made me go looking for that toolkit, not because I didn't have the screwdriver, but because I was tired of reaching for too many toolkits. It is remaining broken. They caused it with a design flaw that's well documented, and it affects quite a few Lenovo laptops. I found out a year later after liking it very much for all its other points. Um, but the screws that anchored the hinge for the cover are not biting into enough material, and the material is plastic. And eventually they'll give, and when they do, Ubuntu is going to ask you if it's within your warranty period.
Not Ubuntu, dear.
I'm sorry, Lenovo. And I went to Staples. It was within its warranty period. And they said, oh, they're only good for, I think it's 30 or 60 days. See Lenovo. By the time I got to Lenovo, it was 2 days beyond its warranty period. But I had a witness over at Staples, and Lenovo said, go see Staples. And I finally got a way I could talk to Lenovo without using Twitter or Facebook, which we strongly recommend you don't use, but you may anyway, and without a few other bad tricks like that. When I got there, it was someone in Asia, the Philippines, or one time Honolulu. And their English was a little hard for me to track, and they couldn't email me an answer. I simply wanted a statement that I could get it returned or replaced uh, with that defect of theirs corrected. And will you tell me whether you have a solution or just another half year to 2 years before it fails? No one will put that in writing for me. I still haven't got a solution. So to me, that's intolerable for a grown-up company like Lenovo, which also sells ThinkPads, the IBM special. Good grief. Anyway, this is the kind of place you can go for a lot of comparisons, and it's a good new one that I share with you. Let's see. I heard you, Algot. Thank you from before. And let's see. That was inexpensive trail cams. Jill, I guess, oh, let me think. The online link is working now. You can go there and use it. Or do you have a link for it?
For what?
Trailcam.
I don't know where the link is.
Okay, I'll find it. I will go online to I think you've heard of this place. Anybody been there lately? And in it, I'll say, I'd like to see the archive. And in the archive, I say, I'd like to see the one for our next FOSS group meeting. It hasn't moved up yet. Here we are. Ew! Sorry, guys, you haven't seen it yet. Well, you'll see it tomorrow night. And meanwhile, you'll see it for a minute, because if I don't have it there, I ought to have it just a minute. Chrome for my desktop. And instead of Thunderbird, let's try this game. And this is half screen. I'll make it full screen. For those of you that quick want two half screens in many Linuxes, including Ubuntu, you just take the screen from its top, you grab it, and throw it over to the right side. I said take it from the top and throw it to the right side. Well,
No,
nothing
I think you're going to have to take it from that top.
interesting. It's not doing all the usual things while I'm on with all these connections. And then you can do it again for the next screen on the other side or what have you and work between them. I'm going to make it full screen and just overwrite it in a minute. And I want to go to I keep most of my data in a totally separate partition on my solid state drive. And on that solid state partition, I would go to MMS Web up P1. I tend to upload a lot of things from there. And in there, let's see. I imagine I have one here for, I usually don't have to do it this way, but I'm off balance with what I have set up right now. I would think it's apt to be
What's the
under
name of it?
FOSS User Guide, that's close. Archive of the FOSS User Group, there we have it, folks. And I've got quite a few of them.
That's just the pictures.
Oh, this is only the images?
Yeah.
Not the archive?
No, you need to go scroll down until you get archive.
Don't think so. What's in this? Not what I want either. Okay.
Go to MMS.
Yep. Let's look harder in there. That sure looks right. That's family. Nothing else for FOSS in there.
It's going to be down here.
I think it won't be under the dates. It'll be in here,
Wait.
probably under.
Archive.
I'm getting close. FOSS User Group Archive.
What?
File not found. Ah, this is disgusting. I'll have it up there. Sorry, guys. Meanwhile, Jill has a trail cam that she is currently favoring, but she's been running through a lot of trail cams as we do with other gadgets, finding the one that's best for use in our local yard. We didn't want one with some features. Oh, I want to go back first to the toolkits. I remembered something I want to mention. Priority interrupts. For the toolkits, you want a screwdriver handle that's thick. If you get a thin one, you can't apply good torque, and you can't go fine and slow as easily either. So I picked one that was thick. That's an important part I didn't mention. Similarly, several people earlier mentioned repos. You go to this repo or that repo. For instance, a Ubuntu repo, that's a repository such as the Ubuntu Software Center online. It's your store online. It's not a store and it doesn't charge money, but it's there waiting for you with lots of good things. So that's what a repo means in that interpretation. Okay? Not a repossessed car, for example. Okay, those are the two I wanted to mention and finally remembered at the right time. Jill, what other comments do you have? And you'll have the link to click tomorrow.
It's Charlotte.
Anything you?
Dick, it's Charlotte calling us.
Well, why don't Jill, go in the next room, please.
Yeah,
Sorry, we'll
Charlotte,
do
we're in the
something
middle
else.
of
Now you
our
can,
meeting.
Jill, next room, please. Okay, let's see. Back up, my good and lost. Hang on, I must be somewhere, right? Uh, with a little luck, I'll be back home. Okay, Joe will be back with trail cams very shortly. I have some more wonderful things. If you're interested in hunting Linux for more and more inputs, I know lots of you will be glad you have one or two, but they give you too much stuff in the corner you don't want while you get to the ones you do want. Here's lots more. 100 Linux blogs and websites, and the top ones for this year, in their opinion. If you want to just measure in Ubuntu, it's pretty popular, as you saw, and you'll find a lot for that just in that category. And I'm sure you can do it for those other flavors that are popular as well. I'm going to go on. Are you ready now, or do you want to set up? I'll catch you in the next one, Joe. These spun out of Mike Cornelison too. I told you about the picture of the day he was using, but here's where you go to get lots of pictures of the day from NASA. You'll be able to click on it. It'll start with today's picture, or at least it'll be obvious where you click for it. And then you can look at the archive and you can go forward or backward from any picture day by day, or if you know the date or you want to do a find on the description for the name of that particular image, you can do that. Like, for instance, that one, I guess Vortex would be a good place to start looking, to zero in on it. The next one here, RSS feed for the same item, is a whole different way to see it. And if you're having trouble using the regular web browser connection, you can try this for an alternative that might work better for some purpose of yours or for some location you're in. Jill, are you back?
I'm back physically. I'm not sure I'm back mentally. I'm not sure that, are people hearing me?
Yes, we are.
Good.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. I lost my sound. Okay. I'm back, I think. Okay, well, as far as what I call critter cams and what the boxes call trail cams, I will let Dick talk about how to find them for cheap, but we have several of them that were bought for under $50, and some of them were better than others, which is one of the reasons I use eBay, because if something's defective and their seller doesn't respond, we just can click on it and tell them that, tell the eBay what the problem was, and if we haven't heard from the seller, they automatically refund it. So I like that. Dick, could you turn off your sharing, please?
Off.
Nope.
No. Why did it lie to me?
It did. She's just hasn't seen it yet.
I'm still seeing your sharing.
Well, I think you won't in a while.
Oh,
Like I said, I think
my
she's on your
computer
slow
has
Wi-Fi.
filled up its memory, and
We think we're on fast Wi-Fi. Interesting.
no, it's my computer filled up its memory and locked up again.
Oh,
And it will be, so you go ahead with what you were doing, because
okay. I'll pick up where Jill was. I told you about the Lenovo problem with staples, where I or you are the ping pong ball in the middle, even though we did nothing to break it, and they know well about this one. Similar to that, so I'm not sharing now, right? Let me go back and
No,
share.
you aren't. When they know very well about it, they are going to be disinclined to do anything, if at all possible, because they don't want to take all of them back.
Right. And they already had a class action suit. They've been stalling. They got another way to stall on it, and they took it, which strikes me as not too smart. Let's see. Are you seeing my screen with a lot of faces at the moment? Am I back aboard? I guess is my question.
We're just seeing your smiling face.
Okay. Now am I getting? You're not yet seeing this. Ah, I thought I had that solved now. Oh, I'm going to go back in here, which I don't want to do. Oh, good. I'm not used to it being better now. And now we try.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Um, so in terms of the astronomy, no, in terms of the trail cams, uh, that's why we recommend eBay so strongly. It's your purchasing insurance plan. And we like it. We like them. We like the people that use them, and so on and so forth. But if you want to get a good description of what you're shopping for, I recommend Amazon. Amazon has a standardized way of organizing information, and it has more products to describe. Now, 80% of the more products may be junk. They don't bother going on eBay for more sophisticated users. But you may find some good things there too, or the same thing for a better price. And if you go there looking for trail cams, which I recommend, just don't buy them there if you've got a better choice. Um, find out what you really like. Then go to eBay with that definition and hunt for what you can find, or in that general price range might be your clue. However, when we did that for the trail cams, sad to say, for this one, we ended up buying from Amazon. We did a general hunt and didn't find anything quite like it for close to the same price. And again, like with the toolkits, you can find them for $60 and they're the same item. You can find them for the same price, but they've got slightly different selections of items and they look the same until you look close. Um, so we tend to, if we don't know what we want, we look first on Amazon to figure it out, and then we look on eBay. Jill's done a lot of both of those on trail cams, and I think a lot of you will like what she's been liking. And I think we'll uh, maybe post where you can click and see a sample image as well,
Why
a,
don't
a
you
video of what it can do.
stop sharing and I'll hold some things up
Oh,
to
you
my
can do it
web.
now? Okay.
Yeah.
I feel this new power surge.
Okay, let me see. Just so this was one that I thought I wanted. It seemed like a great price. Unfortunately, the two that we ordered were serial number 55 and 67, and both of them had problems. So we tried contacting the seller on eBay, and they didn't get back to us. So eBay just refunded. So I've got this useless camera.
Jill, is something being shared? Because I'm
Yeah.
not seeing it.
Oh, you're not seeing it?
I am
Oh.
seeing it for what that's worth.
Oh, if you just click on me.
Click on Jill.
Okay, here's Jill. Here we go. Got it.
Okay.
Bingo.
It's a focus issue.
Note this number here. This is the model number. there might be 4 or 5 different companies selling it with their logo, etc., on the box. But if you zero down into the detailed or detailed description, it will have that serial number on it. So this is the one that didn't work. So then we got a different one.
We got a lot of different ones.
We got 4 of these, and 3 of them worked. This is from Amazon. 3 of them work. The other one is iffy. So we're in the middle of negotiating, returning it, and getting a replacement. We chose a trail cam, which does not have Wi-Fi, does not have Bluetooth, and uses regular AA batteries. You can usually use regular or rechargeables. It has a camera up here, LED lights, and this is where it looks for motion to take pictures. This one has 36 megapixel max. You can take photos, you can take videos, you can do time lapse, you can mark on the bottom of the pictures which camera it was. You can put your own serial number in there. I'm trying to think of all the things that I wanted. You can set the sensitivity to motion for low, medium, and high. Since
The sensitivity
the sensitivity for motion
detecting
detection,
motion. Yeah.
detecting motion. So I wanted the one with the high, so I could catch little things like mice and hummingbirds. And let me see, it has a strap for attaching it around a pole or a tree. And let me think.
And I think we'll find a still and a short video to send you. It certainly works at night with infrared. It's up top there, all those little dots are LEDs for nighttime infrared.
And they sort of glow red when it's on, so you
And,
know that it's on.
And
And this one has a simple way of looking at you've got, see, menu, shutter. I guess you could force it to take a picture. And this goes around. You push it in to go into the menu, and then push it side and forth, up and down for choosing things. Date, time, stamp. Anyway, the tricky thing is to find a good place to put it out. I can put them out in certain parts of my yard and only get branches moving and no animals. And yet there are certain places where almost every night there's a possum, a raccoon, sometimes fox, sometimes coyotes, and we're just about 100 yards from Route 9. So,
on one side.
on one side, and on the other side we have the lake.
So this is sharp. It's not as good on battery life as some, but a lot better than the ones that include remote transfer of images. The ones that are broadcasting on Bluetooth or on Wi-Fi or what have you are going to run the battery down a lot faster. And
some of them have a way to plug. This one does not, but some of them have a way to plug in a little solar panel so it can keep charging itself up. That's more important if you're putting it somewhere far away from your house and you're not going to visit it for a month or half a year or something like that, which a lot of people do.
And we will post the link for this one, uh, and hopefully some links to see a little action from what it can do. There are tremendous trade-offs on these gadgets, and you've heard some that are fitting us pretty well. Uh, you might have a more interesting backyard than you know about, or the people coming by your front yard and checking your mailbox may be interesting. So they have other functions as well.
Right. You also want something that will trigger quickly and recover quickly. The first one I had, it took 5 seconds before it would start recording, and a lot of times something would go past it fast, and you wouldn't see anything.
Okay, I will switch back to see what happens next. And I have to get on, I hear.
I think you want to share. You're in Jitsi Meet. That's where you want to share.
First of all, I want to be here. Oh, should have listened better, but I'm doing it on the second pass. Right, this share now works differently and better. Whoops, I said that too soon. Okay.
I look forward to my Chaz Adams barbershop.
Share and a haircut. All the things in.
Live streaming is on.
I'll say. And computer security, privacy, and freedom. I already showed you the T-shirt I have on. That's the last one in that set. The first one in that set is a good article on how QR codes work and why they're dangerous. These are those little square, looking like a world's tightest, fullest tic-tac-toe game with lots more boxes that you can put your smartphone on and find the right place online. They're trouble. And you can read about it here. They're like Facebook, they're like Twitter. They're popular, but you might want to look for another way out. So, one article on that if you want your security and privacy. This is an interesting one. The FBI is spending millions on social media tracking software. This is talking about Facebook and Twitter, and you might want to read it. It's raised a lot of hackles, and it's our side fighting with the other side, but injuring everyone in the middle, like everyone else seems to be doing this week, and among the big boys. So that's it. It's a major topic, and I won't tell it to you. I'll let you read it because that's a good article. One that's been going around lately is pipe dream. This is a new name given to a new problem. It looks like just the best of the pack for fouling up industrial control systems, such as major server farms, such as uh, the electricity for your community or your state, etc., etc. Russia is suspected, but there have been a lot of contributors to this one, I suspect, in terms of earlier pieces that got accommodated. So it's an interesting read, and already places in the US have been getting hit by it and getting patched by it. And until they were patched, there was no announcement from US sources. And I think this one might be one from British sources. I'm not quite sure right now, but it's an all-purpose terrible tool for us, but a good tool for the hacker. So right now, everyone that's got a major site is doing the engineering work or putting in the existing patch for their set of tools. Rounding off that set for this month, Russia is leaking data like a sieve, and mostly to Ukraine, which turns out to be quite sophisticated online. So that's an interesting one too. Hence the shirt I'm wearing today. Now we get to some other things. I think I'll hit one of them very quickly, and Dennis Payne, our regular games guy, is going to take over for the rest. Chaos, which I've been demonstrating to some of you in the last week and some of you within the hour or so, uh, has one extra tool in it that I hadn't been No, I didn't demonstrate it. I just mentioned it. So I'm going to go demonstrate it. Let's go. Bring up. Oh, that's your link for it. I don't want to go to your link for it. You'll see that later. What I want to do is bring it up. So I'll close that link and I'll go over to back to my desktop. Chromium, do share. I guess it is. And now I get to ask nicely for, I'll do it in a second window. Why don't I be a little smarter than that? And I'll go get my chaos. And there it is. It loads quickly. Some of you know what this is about. That's the classic, most standard fractal pattern of now hundreds of them. This program includes 20 or 40 different mathematical formula and a lot of ways you can change them. I will quick go in, steer around, tell it to build from this pattern into something I'd like to see more of, like about here maybe. I'll put it up in the center. And what a lot of kids learned this weekend is how you can then go up to fractal and go down to out coloring mode, out coloring mode, and pick smooth. And all those steps get smoothed over. And kids were having a lot of fun with this. It's still live, you can still do things with it. But the one I didn't show that I want to show quickly for those kids and their parents is in the same place. The going into fractal on it, you can go down to palette and pick any of these different coloring changes, including a random palette. You tell the artist, which is the program, go bring another artist's palette of colors and let's see it that way. I might like it better. There it is. Might not like it better. That was particularly colorless for a palette.
But cool.
But it's interesting. In fact, it'd be a lot better for printing in black and white, probably. And again, whoops, palette. Come on, guys. Palette and random palette. It's got more where that one came from. If you want to go back, there's a way to go back in it, but there's always edit, undo, and edit, undo. This is all in chaos, XAOS, Greek style, X. And for those of you who have tried it, I think you'll like it. For those of you who have tried it, now there's one more trick I wasn't showing the other day. Didn't take long. Dennis, will you please introduce the Day of AI and then go on and give us a game? I will
Yep.
stop sharing.
Well, I didn't read too much about the Day of AI. It's something that MIT is putting on where
Oh.
you can sign up and they will talk about AI or something, but I can't say I read too much about it.
I'll do it later.
All right, but let me start sharing my screen. All right, so I recently participated in the Dungeon Crawler Jam. And so I entered a program into that. Basically, dungeon crawlers were a type of game that you had when you didn't have games that were able to do. You didn't have hardware that could do 3D games. So what you would do is they would pre-render the walls, and then they would compose them when you're actually playing the game. So you could run it without needing that 3D hardware. So I tried out a bunch of the ones that were in the contest and wrote up this article about some of the ones that I found that I really liked. And so you can go look at the article on Gaming on Linux if you want to try out some of them. Now, one of them here, it came from the forest. Now, most of them are closed source games. It came from the forest is not. They went over and included the source code for it. It uses the Love 2D engine. So under Fedora, you can just install Love. And then if you grab the source code, you can just run it from inside the source code directory. And so what it'll do is it'll go over and look for this main.lua and start up the program by running that. And so this game happens to have a lot of polish to it. Oftentimes, game jam games don't necessarily have this level of polish behind it, but the developer of this one did a really good job at polishing it up. So we could start a new game. And so now we're in the world. You have down here, if you click on this, that'll cause you to attack. And there's a little delay until you can attack again. And so now you're exploring this forest. Now in here, he has a little demo area that you can go explore. We're just going to skip that one though. You can find items in these barrels.
I see it's a
You can
hemlock
find
forest.
people to talk to. Let's see if I can find the town. Now, as I said, all of this, despite the 3D view, it's all pre-rendered. And so I can enter into the town. You could talk to the guards. I wonder if you can attack the guards. No, you can't attack the guards. But so this is the basic format of these type of games is you would go through and explore areas like this. Now, oftentimes you're in a dungeon for most of it. This one does have an area outside that you're exploring. But I felt that one was really well done. I will say that there was one surprise that I had in after I wrote this article. After I wrote the article, there's one of the games in here was Dumbest Dungeon, and it is you still go through a dungeon like you were seeing in that other view, but this one uses a card system for battling. Now, I ran that one under Wine, so that it's a Windows program, so I use the Wine to run it under Linux. After this article came out, the developer saw that there was enough interest of people wanting to play it that he made a native Linux version.
Nice.
So you can go over and let's see. Yeah. Picture you.
Are you trying to talk, or is that the game? It's breaking up.
Cards you have.
Dennis, your sound is awful. We can only hear about 1 second every 3.
What?
Your sound was breaking up.
Oh,
I think your game was stealing so much processor or sound card or something that
Right.
the microphone wasn't.
yeah. That could be. That one happens to be a Unity game, so it's probably using a lot of CPU for that one.
Huh. Well, I'll try it then. Is this a good time to switch back?
Sure.
Okay, thank you, Dennis. 2 games to try for different people, I guess. And if I don't have, this goes for everyone who talked today. If I don't have the link you want for what you did, correct me and I'll get the right one up. I think I have Dennis's right one, but I'll find out later. Okay, and here I am, and pretty soon here will be the good old place I should be. And okay, I want to tell you about this is very dangerous, guys. It's like one of those games because it's coming up on Friday the 13th. May Day, May Day. And come on, guys, you can do this. Here we go. I think we go. It's working.
Just takes a while.
I'm getting
Doing a lot of
through all
CPU.
these layers. I'm getting a slow connection, I guess, somewhere. I should be here. It comes. Okay. This I think is coming from MIT itself, but if not, it's quite good. MIT has had a open house again for kids, kind of like the one last week at Framingham State University, but as you might guess, more so. And they're emphasizing online and they're back and they're emphasizing artificial intelligence for kids. I think a lot of grown-ups are going to like it too. And here you go. You'll have a place to click to go there. And I think you want to register at least 2 days in advance. So be warned, you'll have the place to click for that. And they'll tell you a lot. Here's a little video about it. Here's some writing about it. And I think young kids, as well as us, will all enjoy what's there. So I recommend you take a hard look at this one and maybe allocate, I believe it's an hour and a half next Friday. And we'll all see later how we felt about it. The only other thing I wanted to do is I didn't introduce Linux, but what I can easily do is introduce my Linux desktop. This is what it looks like when I'm doing my work. Uh, Unless I want to disappear the launcher on the left and get a full screen. And what I'm running as the desktop wallpaper is a slideshow run by Variety, one more FOSS program available. And it allows me to set the time between changes. I could set fancy slide across between the images or fade out, stuff like that. And just looking through a list of 500 to 1,000 of my favorite photographs for the most part, but I borrow some from other people when they're good. That's one from my little smartphone with Photox, damn sharp, very good. Um, so that's not one of mine.
And you
and
can have it automatically download
and so it goes.
wallpapers.
But the point is, I have a launcher full of applications which you've been watching me using. And up top, I have all my other tools handy, uh, including the one that tells me where I am now and the one that lets me go in and change the slideshow. Four of them that are basically a medical x-ray scan and more of the computer. This is telling me in time on a graph what four CPUs in my four cores in my CPU were doing, and there are four colors. Red's the main one going on. That's the first core. And this is telling me what I'm doing online, including active actions.
No, this is the
I'm
online.
sorry, in my memory on the computer, including live memory I'm using and cached memory that's sticking around until it's needed for something else so I can get back more quickly to things I've been doing. This is the internet talking. This is my outgoing and incoming red to read or download, white to write or upload. So this is uploading and downloading on the internet right now from my computer. And this is what's going on my hard drive. And then those little upright bursts are these changing images coming from my hard drive and getting written into the place that they get shown on the screen. So you've got a little heartbeat of everything going on. I can see when it's working and not working. Here's my connection, and it's quite strong. I'm working in English. I've got my Bluetooth on. My battery is recharging because I ran it for about an hour before I ran to get a power supply. Uh, my speaker is working. And this is a lot of information about the
Date and time.
date and time. And I think that's about all you need to know, except when you get bored and tired. This is the one you use to shut down or to reboot as you're trying out different versions of Linux. There's all kinds of things in here. And where I started was with that problem in mouse and touchpad. And now the touchpad part is all back because of that little patch I chose. Now, if there are any other questions or comments, this is a good time to make them, and then we're off. Um, Anybody got something?
The silence is deafening.
I think I've got a really good silence here. I think we covered an awful lot today. We ran a little overtime. Thanks to everyone that helped, and thanks to everyone that came in to learn something. I'm in both camps
See you next
every
month.
month. See you next month.
Okay, thanks for a great meeting.
Okay, thanks. Everybody have a good month. And happy holiday.
You're still on.
See you tomorrow.